Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to the very long awaited, very overdue, about 6 months overdue, Fine trailer Coronal Radiance reaction animation analysis thing. It's been so long since I promised I would do this, and today is the day. So hopefully you all enjoy. Obviously I'm going to be doing my usual format of reacting to it and then doing all the animation breakdown stuff I do. So without further ado, let's go!
They say,
the clock.
if suffering has an end,
I know what that means now.
I will be the deliverer. But why is there absolutely nothing behind me now?
After it's over, I'll open a tailor shop.
It wouldn't be bad to live for yourself.
Jesus.
I want to be a normal person.
That's not a wish.
Time to see who's better.
And stand up and face me!
Whew. Oh man, oh, come on.
Why did you? Take them all away from me!
May this world never again need a deliverer.
Fine enough, Ides Elysiae. What is your dream?
Ooh. All the pose parallels, that's really cool. I know I've heard the song already. It's a separate video, of course, but like, people were right, it hits different. I was definitely right when I assumed rock bottom. Wow. Can't get much more rock bottom than this. Ooh. 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 Oh. Absolutely gorgeous visuals there.
To this idea of fate.
Ah! Impact frames confirmed. You know I'm gonna talk about him. Ooh. Oh, that is a gorgeous shot. Holy fuck. Ooh. I'm gonna have fun talking about that one. I mean, I don't know if I would say there's a bunch of stuff I'll talk about here, but there's definitely stuff I want to talk about here, so this is gonna be a fun video. The first shot I want to talk about, being only about 15 seconds in, is a great sign. His eyes here are gorgeous, as is the flow of each following shot and how it all links together, but I mainly want to highlight the slight shifting in his eye. This is an involuntary movement all eyes make, especially when actively processing, and one of my personal favorite emotional details when animators decide to include it. It's subtle enough to feel without being super obvious, but also obvious enough to drive focus to the eye and what he's focusing on. In this case, the love child of Reaper from Overwatch and Venom Moon Knight. The flare that transitions to the wider shot following it is also very nice. This uses the flare to draw in the viewer's attention to another focal point on the screen, since the two didn't necessarily line up. If they had just faded or cut between without this, you would have lost the character with how small he is and be drawn drawn to Finon first, which isn't necessarily wrong, but narratively, it helps to draw the attention to the threat before you see the responsive action, which of course would be Finon. I also love the layout and angle of this shot. The camera has a lens distortion that makes Finon's sword seem so much larger and more powerful compared to the smaller scale of the threat way off in the distance, which recontextualizes the power dynamic and informs us that he has the upper hand. It's also following the classic rule of thirds. The color contrast between Finon's blue and the villain's purple against all of this orange and yellow also helps separate the subjects very well. If you were to set this shot into just gray values, you'll notice quickly where your focus is drawn. That's the importance of color values in art. No matter the size, your subject should be clear. All the following shots have great world building detail in general. The tears on Hyacine's face as she tries to heal people in vain, Aglaia and Castris doing their best to fend off the enemy only to result in tragedy. Also, shout out to this guard who has probably the least bothered pose during such a fight. He looks more inconvenienced than stressed, which is just funny in context. Directorially, this shot pays immense attention to cinematography. That might sound like a no-brainer to some, but the specifics of context are why it stands out. This sequence of Castris being killed is a great example. The change to a high contrast monochrome to signal an emotional weight, the POV as she falls back to the sky, and transitioning that into a handheld style shot of her lifeless hand back to third person, followed by a wide shot to solidify the context through all the distorting visuals. Using handheld shots is a great way to add that distortion and make a moment like the death of a character feel suddenly more impactful, especially when it's following a bunch of colorful, stable slow-mo shots. It's jarring, and that's what makes it stick with you, forcing you to reflect and process in a time frame that's similar to those in universe. It also makes things even more shocking when the following death isn't nearly as poetic. The color and all gore is viscerally present. This almost trivializes the act, which pushes the narrative that all hope is lost, and things like brutal loss have become commonplace. The quick cut of all the other deaths in different loops adds to that pressure, even showing civilians getting killed and dolls being left abandoned. Finon's reaction is basically the only thing that keeps us tethered to the emotion of these moments, and is why that sequence hits so hard. Absolutely no notes, absolute cinema. Getting to experience Finon's dream intercut with his fighting is another notable choice, since it just gives us that juxtaposition of what he's been fighting for all these times, reaching out for the sun in hopes to capture the light he so desperately strives for. But through all of this, the noise of his many failures and being cut short once again before realizing his potential. When I said absolute cinema a few sentences ago, I was referring to this entire project, not just the last sequence. To focus on a highlight of the overall animation approach, the golden blood being done in 2D instead of 3D is a very interesting choice. I feel like this was done for a few reasons, so for those, let's return to Maide's death. For one, the color and lighting of blood are extremely specific. It glows. You can see on the sword model here that they also had CG blood, but it's far more dull. This is a limitation of basic blood simulations. It's exceedingly resource intensive to put a believable glow on water, which is the basic sim they're using. You need to add details like refraction and scattering to make it all react naturally. That's hard enough on a project focusing on realism, let alone a more anime-styled project like this. Not being able to make the blood pop on screen is a really harsh visual loss, so making it hand-drawn allows for precise color and effects, unrivaled by commercially available liquid sims. The second reason is that because of the aforementioned limitations, this liquid sim is nearly impossible to direct and control. Liquid sims in general are literally simulations, mathematical data assuming the path of least resistance, just like water would. You can change parameters to affect how thick or fast it flows, and use models to try and shape where it flows, but you cannot tell it precisely where to go without extremely specific horrific custom effort. For this reason, as we'll see in Finon's death, you wouldn't be able to have the blood artistically flow down the blade, wrapping and dripping off the way it does here. This is a perfect application of utilizing mixed media animation in order to deliver the highest quality work possible. Simulations are absolutely a godsend for things like clothing, but any animator who's dabbled in sims of any kind can tell you how much of a pain they are to predict. There's chaos in them, so at times it's best to just completely remove the variable for a better end product. The following sequence is just so insane I'd be here all day if I talked about everything, but as an overview, this fucks so hard. The shattered glass reality under pressure, his eyes looking into the camera, breaking the fourth wall, this absolutely breathtaking distortion design. This is specifically smart since this kind of blocky distortion is a sign of compression degradation, something that only happens when an image gets downloaded, used, compressed again, rinse, repeat thousands of times over. It parallels his existence. I know that they did this on purpose instead of using any other glitch or distortion style, and that makes it even cooler. The abstract shots following it are also just super well designed. I couldn't tell you what this eye is for or why it's there, but damn, it looks sick. Every single shot continuing to degrade in quality and bleed into each other is using that compression artifacting to the point where it becomes a part of the shot's shading. That's just brilliant. I don't know who designed this sequence, of course, but whatever person or team did, you absolutely did not get paid enough. We get to return to his final transformation and get to see a specific visual change here, the use of clear block transition. This is different from the compressive distortion we just saw because this sort of longer block isn't usually present in heavier degradation, meaning his rebirth is decompressing visually and coming back from the severe variant we saw before. Again, I'd be here all day if I didn't move on, so let's just give a huge shout out to the narrative parallel of the villain swapping places with Finon. This is the polar opposite of the dynamic I described earlier. Finon is now in control here, and though the villain is still powerful and demanding the center frame, Finon's ability is taking more space, pushing him into the position of authority in frame. And now for the impact frames. Well, kind of. The impact frames themselves are actually pretty average, no cool extra details in them, just alternating rings of color. What is cool though is basically everything else. I especially love the heat distortion swirling just before the explosion, adding more power to the point of impact, enough to warp the light around it and affect the camera's aperture. Not to mention this gorgeous color balance of the purple and orange after it's done, and right before it all implodes like reality into a black hole. This last shot is definitely my favorite in the whole short though. The color balance, the way the grass leaks into the ruins, the god rays shining through the trees. I love that they end this on such a poetic image of him finally being at the end of his personal hell, and how if he just takes a few steps, he'll be able to live his dream of peace and prosperity after countless lives trying. Yet we don't see him take the first step, as if he's scared of it, processing if it's real or just another failed cycle. I will say this one more time. Absolute fucking cinema. And that's pretty much it. I know this one was a long time coming. Like I mentioned at the beginning, it's been like 6 or 7 months since I should have gotten to this one and since I listened to that song, but I finally got to it. It just took a while, and this one actually I did have a decent turnaround on the time. I just got to it so late that it feels like it took longer than it actually did. But hopefully you all enjoyed it, and if you have something else from Honkai Star Rail you want me to get to, by all means leave them in the comments below. I'm trying to add more and more to my list of things to get to in time, so these will be like maybe once a month or so. I'm trying to stick to that as best I can, so it might be a while till I get to another one because I have a few others in the list that I'm going to be getting to soon. So if you got something, nonetheless, I will definitely try my best to cover it. But if you don't want to do any of that, maybe just want to follow me and support me for more stuff coming in the future, because I do have plenty of plans coming in the future, both animation and music related. So if you want to stick around, you know how to follow me and support me and all that, and I'll see all of you in the next video. Goodbye!